Hello, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Angel Storm. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the 7 areas of your life that you need to pay attention to if you want to have what I call a tree of life, a healthy, thriving tree that not only provides for you, but for your future and really allows you to have the most out of your life. So the 7 elements that make up your tree of life are your time, your health, your spirituality, relationships, your knowledge and skill set, your self-worth, and also your wealth. So I have a webinar that goes over these principles more in depth and also provides you with a workbook so that you can actually take an assessment of where you are in each of these areas. You know, it can be hard to tell which one of these things do I need to start working on first, or how do I even know if I'm doing a good job in one of these areas? And if I am doing a good job in that area, why isn't it translating into some of these other areas? And that workbook and that webinar actually go through this much more in depth. But I do want to give you some things that you can start thinking about right now and ways that you can start doing this assessment. So first of all, let's start with time. Time is my most valuable resource. I want you to say that over yourself, and I will treat it like currency. I want you to really feel what it means when you say that. Is that true? Does it resonate with you? Do you actually treat your time, every single second, every single minute of your day, like a dollar? You know, do you actually treat it like money? Is it going and working for you? Do you have a return on your investment of where you spend it? And if not, I want you to think about this statement. I will use blank to improve my focus and productivity. So in other words, how do I start getting control of time? I first need to assess how I'm going to use what I have to improve what I'm doing. So for you, that blank could be something like either meditation or prioritizing measurable goals. In other words, I know if I do A, B, and C, it will lead to an outcome of D. I'm going to prioritize doing A, B, and C so that I can have that outcome, right? Maybe for you, this is hiring a coach or getting a mentor so that somebody can get you back on track right away. Maybe for you, this means going into a place of isolation where there's no distractions. You are sitting down and time blocking, using the first 2 or 3 hours of your day to really get the most important goals accomplished. Whatever this looks like for you, I want you to start analyzing the way that you are spending time. And if you're not seeing the investment, the return on your investment with time that you want, then start thinking about how can I start managing what I have so that I can start growing it. Another thing that I want you to think about with your time, and say the statement over yourself again, is that I will not sow my time anywhere where I do not want to reap a harvest. So therefore, I am going to cut out blank, blank, and blank my schedule. So maybe for you, this is complaining. Okay, listen, if you're a complainer, you're going to be around complainers because you've sown the seed. That's what you're attracting. And people who don't complain, who are ready to take responsibility for whatever is not happening or whatever is happening in their lives, then those people are going to hang out with other people of that same mindset. This is why it's so important that you work on you first, because your external world is actually showing you what you believe in your internal world. So when you get your internal world done correctly, when it's set up, when you know how to take an assessment of where you are and where you're headed, your external world will start to reflect those things. Maybe for you, you want to start cutting out toxic people or people who want to argue, but there's no sense in arguing because there's never a change in their behavior, in their attitude. Maybe you want to cut out time wasters like TV or scrolling through social media or listening to people who are not adding value of some sort to your life. Those are all ways that you can start taking back your time and start managing what you have, right? And think of this again like a budget. So if I know that I'm sowing, $1,000 of my money to unhealthy food every month, if I want better health and better finances, right? Because the tree of life is a tree, which I'll get into in just a second. If I want to impact both of these areas, I could easily identify one of those things that's impacting 2 of these branches of my tree of life. And actually, before I move on to health, I want to say that, your tree is a tree. You never find a tree that's like growing really good on one side and then like dead on the other side. The tree is growing evenly. And so while you might think, I'm doing really good in this area of my life. Why isn't it getting over to these branches over here? It has to do with the center point, which is you. There's something in your heart that is blocking that belief or that flow of that belief, the fruit of that belief into that area, which I'm going to cover how to tie all of these things together at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that. Let's move on to health. How do I assess that? Again, health is my most valuable resource. If I was treating my physical health, my emotional health, my mental health as my most valuable resource, what changes would I be making in my day-to-day life? Would I be going to the gym more? Would I be watching what I eat a little bit better? Would I be watching who I'm hanging out with? What's coming into my eye gates and my ear gates a little bit better? Maybe I'd be drinking more water. Maybe I'd drink water first thing in the morning. Maybe I'd be making sure that I adhere to taking a Sabbath every week. Whatever it is for you, I want you to really think about this. How are you treating it like a currency? I'm treating it like a currency because I'm ensuring that this bill gets paid and this bill gets paid and this bill gets paid, right? So just choose 3 things. This is an easy way to take an assessment. I also want you to take an assessment of your emotional health in this section. So, and again, say this to yourself: my emotional health is important to me. And really believe that. If it's an important thing to you, you're going to make sure that something happens with it, that you get the return on your investment that you're looking for. So emotional health, my emotional health is important to me. So I pay attention to how I normally feel and I respond when I come off of that baseline. So for me, I do this every night. I use my peaks and valleys exercise, which if you're not familiar with that, I am linking it in the description of this video so you can go check that out after you're done watching this one so that you understand, how do I even find my baseline? How do I even know what that is? That video will teach you that. And I want you to pay attention to the common reoccurring themes in your life that are pulling you away from that baseline. So whenever I hang out with this person, or whenever I seem to get into this environment, or whenever I start thinking about this topic, right, it pulls me off of my baseline. From there, you can apply appropriate actions. Maybe this is, I'm stopping hanging out with those types of people. I'm not going to spend my time with them anymore. And maybe it's, hey, that's actually pointing me to the fact that there's a trigger there and I need to spend more time really consoling that part of my soul. I need to figure out how to mend that wound that was in me so that I don't have to get triggered every time the topic of blank is brought up. Okay, so everything that you're put into these blanks will have a different reaction based off of what outcome you want to have, right? Because maybe really you do need to stop hanging out with toxic friends, or maybe what you really need is more inner healing than what you previously thought. So the third branch for our tree of life is spirituality. And I want you to say this over yourself: none of my other disciplines matter if I don't put my spiritual growth first. That is so true, because you are first a spirit. If you're not taking care of the thing that you are first, then everything else does not matter, right? So I want you to do this by exploring your own spirit, who you truly are, before the world told you who you were, before your parents told you who you were, before your friends or that event or whatever tribulation you faced in life so far has happened. Before all of that happened, who are you? Explore that part of yourself, and I want you to allow it to go home every day. I talk a lot about this on my channel. Meditation is so important. If you don't know how to meditate, head on over to my Manifold Mind website. You can actually download guided meditations for you to do for various issues that are going on. Like I have one for anxiety. I have one for people who can't sleep. So that can start to help you sync your body, soul, and spirit, right? So I want you to now make a commitment to what you are going to do to support your spiritual development. I will do this by doing blank every day. So what is that for you? Maybe you need to set aside time to daydream. Maybe you actually need to start cultivating your alone time prayer life. Maybe you need to join a certain group or read a certain type of book every month. Whatever it is for you, I want you to make a commitment so that you can start developing who you truly are. When my spirit overtakes my soul and my flesh, things around me will start to change. And the mountains in my life that I want to have moved are blank, blank, and blank. I want you to fill in 3 things that you're really struggling with right now. Let's say, that mountain is debt, or that mountain is lack of some sort. Maybe it's I don't have any friends. I don't have actually deep, meaningful connections to the people that are in my life. Again, we're going to talk about how these branches all interact with each other at the end. But for right now, I just want you to identify the areas in your life that you can truly name and call out. Because once you can identify, hey, this is the actual hang up that I have in life, it's a lot easier to start making a plan, as opposed to just sitting in the valley and saying, I don't know what's wrong in my life. It just feels like stuck on every side. So give your mountains a name. Hey, this is actually the mountain that I have. And maybe it's something internal. Like I said, that's why spiritual health is so important. Maybe your mountain is actually like, I struggle with unbelief. I don't believe in myself. I don't believe I can achieve these things. That's something that you need to identify. The next branch in your tree of life is about relationships. And what I want you to first start off by doing is taking an assessment of all of your relationships. So what you do is get a piece of paper right now and make up the categories of where you are finding your friendships, your relationships in life. So this could be your family relationships, like blood relatives. This could be the people that you go to school with, your coworkers. This could be, a group of friends, or your church family. Whatever it is for you, I want you to get each one of those categories of people, where you find these people, and list them out, list those categories out. And now think about the quality of these relationships. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with them? If you're saying, I'm a 6 with my church family, why is that? I want you to think about each category individually, right? And then calculate up all of those totals, divide them by the number of groups that there were, and that's going to give you your median. Why do you want that? Because you need to know if, hey, this is a 1, and I just said my mountain is that one of the mountains that I need moved is that I don't have any friendships, or I'm unsatisfied with my interpersonal relationships. Then you know that you need to focus on your relationships. And you can do that very easily by seeing which groups are suffering the most, because you just ranked them, right? So these all tie together. And again, I'm going to get into that a little bit more at the end of this video. The next part of relationships that I want you to assess is make a commitment to yourself to review your relationships and their quality a certain amount of times every year. Maybe for you need to do it 12 times a year. You need to actually make sure that, hey, I'm not attracting this type of person that I'm trying to get away from. You can only do that when you become aware of what the problem is, right? So I want you to think about that. How many times a year are you going to actually assess your relationships? We do this because you want your relationships to line up with your destiny and not your history, right? And so you can never know which one of these you are doing unless you actually take an assessment. You're consciously partnering with your time, with your thoughts, with your behaviors, and you're finding out, hey, I know I say I believe this, but do I actually believe this? Am I actually doing those things? The next part of the tree of life is about your knowledge and skill set. And again, this goes back to maybe one of those mountains is I need to make more money because I'm having an issue with finances in my life. Okay, well, information is turned into knowledge when understanding is applied. So you can have all of the information in the world, but if you don't understand it, if you don't know how to turn that into something that produces an outcome, then it's worthless. And so I want you to commit to yourself right now that you will focus on the kind and types of knowledge that you need at this specific time. Again, maybe your interpersonal skills are lacking. And so maybe the kind of knowledge that you need right now is communication skills. Maybe you need to know how do I become a better friend, a better partner to my spouse, a better parent to my child? How do I speak my child's love language? How do I interact with people a little bit better? So maybe that's the type of knowledge that you need to be focusing on consuming, right? So I want you to pick 3 categories. These 3 categories, by the way, should be the same ones from your mountain that you just listed. Those 3 areas need to line up with the same, these need to line up, because if not, you're just listing them out, but not providing yourself a solution. I also have talked about this before, and especially if you're new to my channel and you're watching some of my older videos on narcissistic abuse recovery, I flat out tell people, do not binge my channel. I don't care what that does for my rankings or my ratings on YouTube. It's not healthy for you. You're not actually turning any of the information that I give to you into knowledge. You're not turning it into wisdom. You're not doing anything with it. You're just consuming because you feel starved of that information, right? This is natural. If I'm physically starving because I don't have food, my natural inclination is to overeat, but that can be very damaging for my system. The same is true of information. So I don't want a bunch of information gluttons on my channel. I want you to actually be able to take my knowledge, the information that I'm presenting to you, and turn it into something that can transform your life. That's the whole purpose of my YouTube channel. So, knowledge puffs up, right? So I will not become an information glutton. I want you to say that over yourself. Make this commitment to yourself. I'm not binging podcasts. I'm not binging YouTube just to have all of this information that I do nothing with. So make a commitment. If I consume information, it will serve my purpose and it will feed my soul. And then take an account of what are you doing right now? Hey, some things I need to cut out of my information diet are, the news, okay? No one needs that. Shut that off. You literally don't need to have the news playing, like watching it and hearing it, okay? Pick one gate. If you have to have it open, pick one gate. Me personally, I read the news. So choose a different method to intake information. The more gates that you have open, the stronger that information comes in, okay? And then assess what levels need to stay the same. Maybe you're doing a really good job of making sure that, you say your declarations every day, or, you are reading your word every day. Whatever it is for you, I want you to take an assessment. Hey, I'm not doing a great job of this, but I am doing a good job of this. Be honest. Be honest about it. And then recognize, hey, I need to increase in this area, right? I need to find more people who have knowledge in this specific area, and I need to consume some of that information so that it actually helps me. The next branch in our tree of life is self-worth. I want you to say this over yourself right now. I value myself and I know my worth. Say it with me. I value myself and I know my worth. My favorite things about myself are blank, blank, and blank. I want you to fill in those blanks. What are your favorite things about yourself? If you cannot nurture and celebrate your qualities, you're going to be dependent upon other people, the outside world, to do that for you. And again, you teach other people how to interact with you, how to treat you, how to honor you by the way that you treat and honor yourself. So if you can't celebrate yourself, don't expect other people to either. Don't expect people to fill a void that you are fully capable of filling on your own. Okay, the next part for self-worth, I want you to say this. I am gentle with myself. Okay. There's a lot of people who don't know how to have grace for themselves. They don't know how to just take an actual assessment and say, hey, I didn't do that great of a job over here, but I know that I'm capable of so much more. So in the future, when this thing comes up, here's what I'm going to do instead. Predetermined choices, right? Bake it into the cake right from the get-go. And it's a lot easier to maintain this as a habit, as a lifestyle. And if you need more help with predetermined choices, I am linking a couple of videos on that down below in the description. You can watch those later as well. So recognize that it is your responsibility to give yourself the things that you need. You are responsible for figuring out what is it that I'm lacking and how do I get it. I want you to notice the patterns. So do this assessment. Some of the patterns I've noticed is that when I feel blank, then I actually need blank. See, a lot of people will say, like, when I feel anxiety, I just leave that situation. As opposed to, if I feel anxiety, I actually need to figure out, why am I feeling anxious? Is there something that I haven't yet overcome? Or is this thing actually pointing me to my very destiny? Is this thing trying to keep me out of my purpose? So a correct assessment is necessary for these things, but we don't do any type of assessment if we just try to get out of the situation every time it's presented to us, right? By the way, you'll notice cycles and patterns of behavior because you've either you have created them, and cycles repeat themselves so that we have an opportunity to learn the fullness of a lesson, okay? And you're going to continue to repeat that until you've learned the lesson. So lessons can go quicker if you learn quicker, right? Quick change will bring quick results. And the final part of our tree of life is wealth. I want you to say this over yourself too. I will be wealthy in all areas of my life. Put your hand on your heart. I will be wealthy in all areas of my life. All areas of my life. That includes money. I feel resistance to people thinking that. And I want you to know that it is God. God has given you the ability to create wealth. Every single area of your life should be abundant. And I want you to be honest with yourself. When you read those two sentences, when you heard me read those sentences, I want you to think about it. What is your first reaction? Because that also tells you, okay, here's a space where I need to work through things. Why don't I believe that? What are the limiting mindsets that I've allowed myself to adopt that I'm now acting out of instead of addressing them, uprooting them, and planting something healthy in their place? So these are things that you can do to think about wealth. One other thing on wealth. I want you to know that you can show honor to the person whoever taught you about money, about wealth, whoever the first person was to speak to you about wealth. You can show honor to that person who taught you whatever lesson it is, even a bad lesson, while allowing yourself to cut ties with the lesson. Okay, so understand that the person who taught you that may have meant very well. The first person who ever spoke to you about money may have been doing their very best, and that unfortunately was their very best, whatever lesson it was that they taught you, even if it was a bad lesson. So you can honor them by understanding, okay, that was your best, I got it, but I allow myself to cut ties with that lesson and move forward because it's still God's desire that I create wealth. Right? And so allow yourself to get rid of those false beliefs and replace them with healthy and true ones. And so I want you to think about that. You know, if you were taught limiting beliefs around wealth, around money, I want you to identify where that lesson came from, where your earliest lesson around money, around wealth was, and replace it if it needs to get replaced with something that better serves your future, your destiny, instead of your history. Okay, so this is the quick assessment that I want you to do in this video. Now I want to talk to you about how these things intertwine. I said earlier that you'll never see a tree that's like growing on one side, but half of it's dead on the other side, right? Unless something happened to it, like it got struck by lightning or whatever. But a natural tree is going to want to be growing on all areas in every way, and it grows at the same speed. So you're not going to find a tree that's like very, very big on one side and very small on another side. It doesn't work that way. It grows in unison. It grows in harmony. Guess what? Your life is the same way. And so I hope that these principles you're starting to figure out, okay, when stuff isn't in sync, it's because there's a blockage in what I'm believing that's not allowing that energy, that belief, that momentum to flow into this other space. So once I've assessed everything, if I see that my friendships, my relationships, my interpersonal relationships in my life are lacking, where am I sowing my time? Because that's going to give me a huge indicator of what I think is important, right? My budget of money and my budget of time are going to tell me the most important things in my life. Without a doubt, that's true of everybody. So when I can do an assessment of my time budget, where is that going? Okay, you know what? I see that I have this need to have better relationships, and yet I'm not investing in them, right? Or maybe for you, it's that you haven't invested in yourself. You don't know what your self-worth is. And so you're feeling frustrated, but you're doing all the things out here, right? You're doing all of these things, hoping that all those things somehow equate to you feeling good about yourself. But again, you will never get on the outside what only you can create for yourself. It's not possible. It's like looking for a puzzle piece in another puzzle box. That puzzle goes to that one, you know, it fits over there. You need to find the one for you. And so I hope doing this assessment, I know this is a really quick video to teach a very in-depth subject, but I hope that this video has helped you understand a little bit more about why maybe you're feeling stuck, why some things aren't flowing, why it seems that you can be very fruitful in one area without it flowing into another area. And hopefully you're able to better identify and easily identify that false belief, pluck it up, replace it with truth, and really be abundant in every area, because that is what your life is supposed to look like. You were created to live life to the fullest. You were created to not just have life, but have a full life, have an abundant abundant life in every area. So again, if you want to do the whole webinar, I'm linking it in the description of this video. You can go there, you can get the workbook, you can really work through all of the exercises that are listed there so that you can do a full assessment of where your tree of life stands. If you know somebody who needs this video, please share it with them. And as always, subscribe to my channel, turn on the little bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video, and I will see you next week.